For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On a drizzly morning in 2010, 30-year-old Etta Nilsson left her camp deep in the Bogachiel River backcountry of Olympic National Park. She never arrived. Despite an extensive search and rescue operation and subsequent investigation spanning years, Etta Nilsson vanished without a trace into the vast, unforgiving wilderness. For 8 years, her loved ones lived with agonizing uncertainty, holding onto a sliver of hope in the face of an impossible void in a case that confounded authorities. Then, in 2018, a discovery was made. A single, perfectly preserved heel print was found in a remote bog, hinting at a hidden path where no trail should have been. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Etta Nilsson. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. Olympic National Park, a vast expanse of emerald rainforests and jagged peaks, guards its secrets fiercely. In 2010, the park's rugged embrace tightened around 30-year-old Etta Nilsson, a woman known for her quiet determination and her unique profession, a backcountry barista, serving artisanal coffee to fellow hikers from a portable setup deep within the wilderness. Her solitary journeys were not born of naivete, but of a profound connection to the untouched wild, an experience she sought to share. Yet, it was during one such familiar expedition that the park's formidable beauty turned into an impenetrable veil. That autumn, a persistent drizzle clung to the Bogachiel River backcountry, saturating the ancient cedars and moss-laden earth. Etta, accustomed to the Pacific Northwest's perpetual damp, embarked on a solo trek, her route meticulously planned, her gear carefully chosen. She was a seasoned hiker, intimately familiar with the nuances of the Olympic trails, her movements deliberate and confident. However, somewhere along her intended path, near a particularly dense tangle of wind-thrown timber, a chaotic jumble of fallen giants, her journey veered. The precise moment or reason remained an enigma, a silent pivot point in the vast, indifferent landscape. Days later, when Etta failed to emerge at her scheduled time, a growing unease spread through the small community that knew her. An initial search party, guided by her last known itinerary, eventually located her campsite. It was a scene of chilling normalcy. Her tent was pitched, supplies were neatly stowed, and her small, portable coffee brewing apparatus lay undisturbed. There were no signs of struggle, no discarded items suggesting a hasty departure, no evidence of an animal encounter. It was as if she had simply walked away from a perfectly intact camp, dissolving into the ancient forest without a trace. The discovery only deepened the mystery. Her disappearance defied conventional explanation, leaving investigators with an unsettling void. The undisturbed camp offered no clues, no narrative of what had transpired. In the absence of any tangible evidence, the vastness of Olympic National Park became not just a setting for her disappearance, but a formidable accomplice in concealing the truth, swallowing Etta Nilsson whole. The initial alarm quickly escalated into a full-scale search, but the wilderness had already begun its work of erasure. The discovery of Etta Nilsson's undisturbed camp in the heart of the Bogachiel River backcountry immediately triggered an extensive search operation. Seasoned park rangers, volunteer search and rescue teams, and local law enforcement converged on the area, transforming the quiet wilderness into a hive of methodical activity. Ranger Cole Tsai, a veteran of Olympic National Park's often brutal search efforts, coordinated the ground teams, his experience tempered by years of navigating the park's formidable terrain. He understood that every hour counted, but also that the environment itself was an active participant in concealing secrets. The conditions were relentlessly challenging. The persistent drizzle that had characterized Etta's trek continued, saturating the forest floor and rendering traditional tracking methods nearly useless. Thick layers of moss, decaying leaves, and an impenetrable undergrowth swallowed any potential footprint or disturbed vegetation. The very tangle of Windthrow, near where Etta was believed to have veered off trail, presented an almost impassable barrier, a chaotic labyrinth of fallen trees and branches that defied see navigation or thorough examination. Among the volunteers was Wee's Red Elk, a tracker whose knowledge of the Olympic wilderness was as deep as the ancient riverbeds. For days, he meticulously scoured the perimeter of Etta's camp and beyond, searching for the subtle signs that would indicate a path of travel. A broken twig, a scuff mark on a rock, a displaced stone. Yet the forest offered no such concession. It was as if she'd lifted off the ground, Red Elk would later recall, expressing the profound frustration shared by every member of the search party. There was no struggle, no discarded gear, and critically, no clear direction of travel away from the camp. The absence of any definitive trace became the defining characteristic of the initial investigation. Search grids were expanded, helicopters deployed, and K-9 units brought in. But the vastness of the park, combined with the relentless damp and dense vegetation, proved an insurmountable obstacle. Without a starting point, without a single clue as to Etta's direction or intent, the search efforts became a desperate, sprawling exercise in futility. Theories, ranging from accidental fall to animal encounter, were considered and discarded due to lack of evidence. The mystery of Etta Nilsson's disappearance deepened with each passing, fruitless day. The exhaustive initial search for Etta Nilsson eventually yielded to the relentless passage of time. Days bled into weeks, weeks into months, and then into years, each one carrying the lingering question of her fate deeper into the vast silence of Olympic National Park. The immediate, frantic efforts, which had mobilized dozens of trained personnel and volunteers, slowly diminished as leads evaporated, and the sheer scale of the wilderness proved insurmountable. The meticulous grids, once scoured with desperate hope, became overgrown with new season's growth, erasing any faint possibility of a missed clue. Ranger Colt Tsai, who had coordinated the initial response, never truly closed Etta's file. It sat among the active cases, a thick dossier filled with maps, interview notes, and forensic reports that detailed only what was not found. Every few months, he would revisit the documentation, sifting through the same information, hoping a fresh perspective might reveal a detail previously overlooked. Each review brought only the same conclusion: no evidence, no trajectory, no logical explanation for how a seemingly experienced hiker could vanish so completely from an undisturbed camp. The case, like many lost in the park's formidable embrace, slowly but inevitably slid into the grim category of cold. For Wee's Red Elk, the volunteer tracker, Etta's disappearance became a haunting echo in his mind, a perpetual challenge to his deep understanding of the forest. He continued to walk the trails, his eyes always scanning, always searching, a silent vigil for any sign that might break the 8-year silence. The memory of the undisturbed camp, a snapshot of perplexing order in the chaos of a missing person case, remained vivid. The question of what had transpired, what silent force had claimed Etta Nilsson, gnawed at him, a testament to the wilderness's capacity for profound mystery. Over the years, the initial urgency gave way to a quiet, persistent ache of the unresolved. For those involved, Etta Nilsson's name became synonymous with the park's impenetrable secrets, a stark reminder of its power and indifference. The hope of finding her alive faded into the acceptance of a long-standing disappearance, replaced by the yearning for understanding, for a final, definitive answer. The Bogachiel River backcountry, once a place of vibrant life and adventure, now held the heavy weight of an enduring, 8-year-old enigma. 8 years had passed since Etta Nilsson vanished. The Bogachiel River backcountry had endured countless seasons, its ecosystem cycling through growth and decay, seemingly erasing all traces of the past. The case, once a frantic search, had settled into the cold file, a testament to the wilderness's ability to swallow secrets whole. Ranger Cole Tsai still carried the weight of the unresolved, and volunteer tracker Wee's Red Elk continued his silent vigil. But the hope of a breakthrough had long since waned into a quiet resignation. Then, in the late summer of 2018, the park yielded a single, unexpected concession. A routine survey team, documenting changes in a remote section of the Bogachiel, stumbled upon it. S was not on a recognized hiking path, but deep within an expanse of low-lying terrain, where the forest floor gave way to the soft, spongy embrace of a sphagnum bog. Beside a faint moose trail barely discernible through the dense undergrowth lay a single impression. It was a heel print, clear and distinct, pressed into the thick, waterlogged sphagnum moss. Its preservation was extraordinary, a testament to the bog's unique anaerobic environment and the moss's ability to act as a natural embalmer, protecting the delicate impression from decay and erosion for almost a decade. The survey team, trained to recognize anomalies, immediately understood the potential significance. A single boot print, isolated, yet remarkably intact, in an area where human traffic was almost non-existent. Photographs were taken, coordinates logged, and the find was reported up the chain of command. Ranger Tsai received the call with a mix of disbelief and a rekindled spark of hope. 8 years of silence and now this. He dispatched a small, specialized team, including Wee's Red Elk, to secure the site and meticulously recover the fragile evidence. Red Elk approached the bog with a tracker's reverence for subtle signs. He knelt beside the print, his experienced eyes tracing its contours. It was clearly a hiking boot, a sturdy model, consistent with the type Etta Nilsson would have worn. The sheer improbability of its preservation, coupled with its remote location, far from any official trail, sent a shiver through him. For years, they had searched for any sign, any direction. Now here was a tangible piece of evidence, a silent witness from the past, seemingly frozen in time. It was a shocking discovery, a singular thread in a tapestry of absence, offering the first real possibility of unraveling Etta Nilsson's enduring mystery. The recovery of the heel print from the Bogachiel River bog was an exercise in extreme caution. Ranger Cole Tsai oversaw the meticulous process, working alongside Wee's Red Elk, whose intimate knowledge of the terrain proved invaluable. The sphagnum moss, acting as both preserver and potential informant, was carefully excavated in a block, ensuring the delicate impression remained undisturbed. This block of evidence, swaddled and secured, was then transported to a specialized forensic lab, its fragility underscoring its immense potential. The initial examination confirmed what Red Elk had observed, a clear heel impression from a sturdy hiking boot, consistent with the type Etta Nilsson was known to wear. However, the critical question remained unanswered. When was this print made? 8 years had passed, and without a precise timeline, the clue, while exciting, offered no definitive path forward. Traditional forensic methods could analyze the boot's characteristics, but dating an impression in a living, evolving ecosystem required a different kind of expertise. This necessity led investigators to Dr. Amya Pedersen, a mycologist renowned for her work in forensic botany. Dr. Pedersen, based at a university research facility, specialized in the study of fungi and their spores, and crucially, their interaction with various environments, including bogs. The unique anaerobic conditions of the sphagnum bog, which had preserved the print so remarkably, also made it a prime candidate for mycological analysis. Spores, microscopic reproductive cells released by fungi, are ubiquitous in nature, and their presence, type, and quantity can vary significantly with environmental conditions and time. Upon receiving the evidence, Dr. Pedersen approached the block of moss with the precision of a surgeon. She understood that the sphagnum itself was a living archive, each layer of growth and decay potentially encapsulating a snapshot of its past. Her initial examination involved carefully sectioning the moss around and within the print, extracting minute samples for microscopic analysis. The goal was not merely to identify spores, but to quantify them, to look for specific fungal species that thrive under particular moisture and temperature regimes, and to discern patterns of deposition over time. This painstaking process, often taking weeks, promised to unlock a chronological record hidden within the very substance that had preserved the elusive clue. The hope was that these microscopic biological markers could finally pinpoint the precise window in which the heel print was made, transforming a static impression into a dynamic timist. Dr. Anja Pedersen's laboratory became the crucible where 8 years of mystery began to dissolve. For weeks, she meticulously analyzed the sphagnum moss samples, her microscope revealing not just organisms, but a precise chronological narrative. The spore counts extracted from the delicate layers surrounding Edda Nilsson's heel print were not random. They formed a distinct biological signature, a particular assemblage of fungal species that thrived and dispersed only under specific environmental conditions. What Dr. Pedersen uncovered was a clear, undeniable fingerprint of extreme dryness. The Bogachiel River backcountry, notorious for its perpetual damp, had experienced a rare, unseasonal dry spell in the late summer of 2010. Historical weather data confirmed this anomaly, a narrow window of days or weeks when the forest floor was uncharacteristically arid. The spores preserved within the impression, particularly those of certain drought-tolerant fungi, matched this unique climatic event with astonishing precision. This meant the heel print had been made during that very specific, limited time frame, transforming a static clue into a dynamic timestamp. The impression was not merely from 2010. It was from the exact period of Edda Nilsson's disappearance. This precise dating was the critical missing link. Ranger Cole Tsai had maintained meticulous records of trail register entries and exits, and he knew that Edda had signed into the Bogachiel trail system. He also possessed data on periods when no one had officially entered or exited the main trails in that sector, creating unexplained gaps. When Dr. Pedersen's timeline of the dry spell in 2010 was overlaid with these historical trail register gaps, a startling correlation emerged. There was a specific window, coinciding with Edda's disappearance and the rare dry conditions, where the official trail system showed an unusual void of activity. This temporal alignment, combined with the print's remote location deep in the bog, far from any established path, pointed to a singular conclusion. Edda Nilsson had taken an unofficial, unmapped route. Ranger Tsai, collaborating with Wes Red Elk, whose deep topographical knowledge of the Olympic wilderness was unparalleled, began to re-examine old logging maps, satellite imagery, and even local lore. They identified what had become a phantom shortcut, a faint, almost entirely overgrown path that once served as an access route for early loggers. It was a treacherous, unmaintained track, now largely swallowed by the encroaching forest, but it would have offered a direct, albeit dangerous, bypass through a particularly dense section of Windthrow, leading to a decommissioned logging grade. This grade, a relic of industrial forestry, offered a faster, flatter, but equally forgotten path through the wilderness. The pieces clicked into place with a sudden, undeniable clarity. The heel print, precisely dated to the time of Edda's disappearance during a rare dry spell, lay exactly where such a shortcut would intersect with a moose trail, leading directly to this hidden, dangerous logging grade. Dr. Pedersen, Ranger Tsai, and Wes Red Elk felt a collective surge of profound relief and excitement. After 8 years of a cold case, of unanswered questions and baffling silence, a single heel print, preserved by nature and deciphered by cutting-edge science, had finally revealed the truth of Edda Nilsson's final movements. The wilderness had, at last, given up its secret. The revelation of the phantom shortcut to the decommissioned logging grade finally brought clarity to Edda Nilsson's 8-year disappearance. It explained the perplexing scene of her undisturbed camp. She had not vanished from her tent, but from a point further along an unmapped trajectory. Driven by an unknown impulse, perhaps seeking a quicker passage through the dense tangle of Windthrow, Etta had veered onto this forgotten path, a relic of past industrial activity now reclaimed by the relentless forest. This treacherous route, unmaintained and riddled with hazards, offered no official register, no clear markers, and led directly away from the established trail system. Her decision to take this shortcut, precisely timed by the unique spore signature in the bog, accounted for her complete absence from any subsequent search along the main trails. The wilderness had swallowed her not because she was lost on a recognized path, but because she had ventured onto one erased from modern maps and memory. For Ranger Colt Tsai and volunteer tracker Wheeze Red Elk, the discovery was a profound, if somber, resolution. The years of agonizing uncertainty, the endless re-examination of cold leads, finally coalesced into a coherent narrative. They reflected on the insidious allure of shortcuts in vast natural environments, the promise of saving time often outweighing the unseen dangers of unfamiliar, unmaintained terrain. The decommissioned logging grade, a path once cleared by human hand but now surrendered to nature's reclaiming force, represented a perilous gamble. It was a stark reminder that the park, in its raw beauty, demanded unwavering respect for its established boundaries and its hidden perils. The single heel print, preserved with such unlikely precision in the sphagnum bog, emerged as the linchpin of the entire investigation. After years of exhaustive searches yielding nothing but frustration, this solitary impression, a mere indentation in the earth, became the voice from the past that finally spoke. Its survival through nearly a decade of seasons, protected by the bog's unique chemistry, was nothing short of miraculous, a testament to nature's capacity to both conceal and, eventually, reveal. Dr. Amya Pedersen's contribution, transforming microscopic spores into a precise chronological marker, underscored the burgeoning power of forensic botany in cold cases. Her scientific rigor had provided the temporal key, unlocking a mystery that traditional methods could not touch. Etta Nilsson's story became a poignant illustration of the intricate dance between human endeavor and the untamed wilderness, a narrative of a life drawn into the park's formidable embrace, and of the relentless human determination to find answers, even when pitted against the overwhelming silence of nature. The case of the backcountry barista, once an enduring enigma, had finally found its resolution, illuminated by a single, perfectly preserved trace.